This story started in the summer of 2014 about a farm family, Dave, Sarah, and their 3 children, using technology in their fields growing corn and beans. Just before our interview, it all changed. The family received news that Dave had acute leukemia. It then became a story about faith, community, and determination. Technology at this point slipped into the background, but always there, helping deal with the daily challenges the next year would bring. We honor the family's request to use only their first names.
The white blood cell count was extremely high, and then they said they suspected that it was leukemia. So then they transported him over to Mayo in Rochester, and then they actually began chemo that night.
Well, my diagnosis came right a week or 2 before harvest, and all of a sudden, when all your livelihood is supposed to happen the next month or 2, and all of a sudden you're cut out of it, it gets to be kind of difficult.
You know, you get that initial news, and it's shocking. And they shared that we would be living in Rochester 6 to 8 months, that he would need to remain in Rochester. And that's shocking. You know, it's the start of harvest. We had to figure out how to get through harvest. And then they said that the first thing that needed to happen is he had to get to remission. And in order to get to remission, it would take chemo, and it would take, strong, doses, long periods. And then once he was able to get to remission, and they could confirm remission, which they called complete remission, then the goal would be to move forward with a transplant, a bone marrow transplant, and locating a donor, whether that be a sibling or a non-related donor, that would all be determined. And then the ultimate goal would be a cure. And the statistics were shared, and from the very beginning, we decided that statistics wasn't the path we were going to follow. Our faith is where we would put our hope, and not in a number, in the statistic. The things that you don't really get a chance to learn, or an opportunity to learn, until you're placed at the foot of the cross, in a situation where you're clinging. You don't know what the next day is going to bring. None of us do, but that's a deep reality that we had never experienced before.
This new landscape required more communications and coordination. Sarah used the website Caring Bridge to provide updates of Dave's condition and their faith journey.
And then what happened is people started sharing their story. So we started receiving texts back, emails back, because we were opening up, our lives to people we didn't know, because many people were following the story, and we had no way of knowing unless they put a comment out there.
In 2014, from his hospital bed at Mayo Clinic, Dave watched his son harvest the field in real time by using precision planting software on his iPad.
The first month or so, during most of the harvest, I was in Rochester, so my contact with the farm, for the most part, was through phone calls, through our cell phones and the iPad.
Him being able to see what's going on from the hospital, and then give me advice or relay, tell me what to do, basically, was pretty beneficial.
I was always in contact with what the combine was doing or whatever. I could always know his speed, his the yield, the moisture of the grain, and everything else. It gave me a lot of ease that I could lay in the hospital and look at the technology and look at the iPad to see what actually was going on at the farm.
He's a pretty active guy, or doesn't like to sit still for too long, so him being able to watch that and keep his mind occupied, it was definitely really nice.
This fall, Dave was back in the field for harvest, his son Lucas still doing the bulk of the work. But Dave had an abundance of gratitude for his faith and the community of supporters.
Found out that how important communication, faith, and the community were.
Sarah stays on top of the details, a mobile device always within reach. Sarah checks blood work on the Mayo Clinic mobile app.
Like today, I just had blood work done in Mankato, and we know the results already.
They look good.
This story of faith and determination is shared, like many others, to give comfort and inspiration to families newly confronted with seemingly insurmountable medical challenges.
So if you asked if your attitude changed, you become more accepting of what could be and what is.